guys, welcome to Talking News. Please don't forget to subscribe right now and like so you don't forget, and also hit that notification bell if you'd like notifications. So right now we're working on part 4, which is going to go into the 5th day for me anyways of the Patrick Frazee trial. So this has happened in Cripple Creek in Teller County, where KELSEY Berreth, the young, beautiful pilot and mother who disappeared November 22nd. Now, Crystal Lee Kinney had already taken the case and described the scene that she found when she walked into the townhome. So now we're going into the point to where the defense was actually asking her questions. So Crystal Lee is now saying, Crystal Lee Kinney is now saying she's going by Crystal Lee. That's the name she's using. But a lot of the articles and stuff that are covering this story are saying, we're going to still continue to call her Crystal Kinney, just so that people are able to relate easy. But they were saying this day that Crystal was not feeling very well. She was feeling kind of sick in court Wednesday. So just a reminder that Crystal Lee Kinney is testifying against Patrick Frazee and the result of a plea deal she struck with the prosecutors. A lot of people are very upset about this plea deal, but considering the fact that there really wasn't a lot of physical evidence, prosecutors are saying that it would have been nearly impossible to seek justice for KELSEY without her testifying. So right now, Crystal Lee Kinney is facing tampering with evidence and the maximum of 3 years behind bars. So what did she say when she took the stand? She said, quote, "I couldn't live with what happened, and Berreth's family deserved to know what happened," end quote. She said it wasn't easy to tell the truth. The thing is she still described what all she's seen. She said that she's seen bloody residue prints that were leading to the bathroom and to the back room. According to what we're hearing is KK actually started crying when they showed pictures of Berreth's daughter that was standing in front of the items that Kinney said she found at the house, covered in residue she had to throw away. So prosecutors paused for a moment before moving to the next slide, and the court took notice and watched Patrick Frazee for any type of emotion, and what we're hearing is there's no emotion whatsoever read on his face. So as they went through the slides, KK pointed out to where she found the tooth in the living room and described how hard it was to clean the residue from the walls and the fireplace. Now I want to remind you guys on what the affidavit said before this trial took place, and that is she left evidence on purpose for police to find. But I said before this happened, when they told us that it was on a stone fireplace, I knew exactly the truth of that, and the truth is most likely, this speculation, that they're not able to get it out of stone. You can't get residue out of the stone. It will soak into there and it's there forever. I think this is something that she was worried about the police finding, and more being scared of getting caught versus hoping that they would find it. So moving on. So she continued to describe, where she had to clean the townhome. Then they moved on to a video showing Kinney talking to law enforcement at Frazee's property on December 21st of 2018, the day he was arrested. So Kinney described this black tote bag or box, which we hear it described at times, and told investigators that's where the body was kept, and recalled the directions that Frazee gave to her concerning Berreth's phone after they disposed of all that evidence. So as this video was being shown, they say that Kinney looked away. She didn't look at the video. But they said that Patrick Frazee paid very close attention to the screen, which you can imagine that's what he was planning on doing. He plans on watching all this because he's taking notes. He thinks he's smart enough to beat everybody still, even though he's standing on trial right now with a witness testifying against him. So a second video was showed to jurors Thursday, and it showed Kenny explaining to officers the contents of the garbage bag that was burned on Frazee's property. Kenny added she thrown Barrett's Bible in the bag as well. After this, they took a break for lunch. Now, according to what Kenny's recollection is of that day, that she said Sheila Frazee, Patrick's mother, saw her and saw the fire burning. So Sheila Frazee is expected to testify, but we don't know when or if she has, because I'm running behind right now. But what was interesting is the fact that she pled the fifth when she was asked to testify last time. So this is going to be interesting. And then also, Kenny said there were also teenagers working around the property at the time of the fire. Now, to me, this is it's very important to this case. I am so happy these boys or these young men were able to collaborate and confirm what Kenny seen or saw. Now, prosecutors did ask Kenny if she looked at the tote when it was burning, and Kenny said it was burning a heap and it started to melt. She says she left while the fire was still burning, but the affidavit did not say that. The affidavit said that she was able to see a shape of a person inside that tote at one point. So this is kind of confusing to me. So after Patrick Frazee's direction for her to take the phone, the keys, and the gun, she did that. Left, headed back to Idaho, and Kenny said Frazee told her the fire burned well into the morning, but it left a remnant that needed to be taken to the dump. She testified that Frazee told her that he was getting help from the two boys. She said the boys didn't know what they were helping with. Can you imagine this, guys? This is devastating. Could you imagine that you're out there working and you're having to shovel these ashes and you have no clue what you're, doing out there? And the fact that he's able to ask these young guys that could be, this could be very traumatic for them for the rest of their life now that they know. This just shows you, firstly, he didn't plan to get caught. He didn't think he was going to get caught. And he thinks he's smarter than everybody else in that room. Now, Kenny said the next day she sent text messages from KELSEY Berreth's phone, November 25th, on Frazee's instructions. We all know what those text messages were, and they were to Doss Aviation, to Patrick Frazee, and we're not certain whether or not the family did receive it. At least I'm not. So this is quite interesting. In Wednesday's testimony, Kenny mentioned that she told Frazee to use her for what she's worth. And on Thursday, prosecutors asked her what she meant by that comment. Kenny said it's something Frazee had said to her about the relationship with Berreth, that he only needed her to run errands and to tend his animals while he was away. So defense attorneys started getting their chance at Kenny. And this is quite interesting because Adam asked Kenny if she knew the punishment, what the punishment was for her current charges, tampering with evidence versus what she'd faced for attempted murder. And the reason why Adam is asking her this is because a lot of people feel that she was going to try to get away with this, that she planned to get away with this, and then she finally realized this wasn't going to happen, and that she took the quickest way out to save her own butt. So a lot of people do not believe anything she has to say, but yet at the same time they're thankful that she is at least testifying. And the reason why the defense said this, again, he said she didn't give investigators much information until she had a chance to make that deal. So Frazie's attorney, Adam, asked Kenny why, when Frazee called her to help clean up after Berreth, they got rid of Berreth, she didn't tell anyone. He listed out every opportunity she had to tell everyone, about what Frazee wanted her to do, or well, allegedly do. And we all know that she had the October, November, all the way up to Thanksgiving to tell somebody. And she did tell a few people, which they offered help to her, and she refused that help. She made multiple trips down to see Patrick Frazee and make plans to dispose of KELSEY Berreth. She had even the Rockstall attorneys that her best friend, or one of her best friends, worked with, offered to talk to her, and she told that friend, said, just tell them never mind, to forget it. She wanted them to forget it, but she herself continued to help Patrick Frazee with his plans. She had multiple 12-hour drives there and back to think these things through deeply and in detail of what's wrong and what's right, and to make the right decision, and she did not. And that last 12-hour trip that she made after Patrick Frazee called her and told her she had a mess to clean up, she had plenty of time to think. She knew what had happened at that point, but still continued to help him in his master plan. Now, there was a part that come up where KK said that she was pregnant with Patrick Frazee's baby, and he kind of give her some words to choose from, whether or not she had the guts to have an abortion. According to her testimony, she did go through with the abortion. She did not have Patrick Frazee's baby, and so this become a subject on stand as well. So even after that, she said that she didn't think he was capable of murdering people. So the attorney brought up the fact that Kenny lied to Frazee about having an abortion. He ended up saying, so for the last 10 hours on stand, is the truth is what you need to stay out of prison. KK replied, it was the truth. Quote, she doesn't know if she will be in prison, end quote. So prosecutors asked KK why she didn't tell anyone what happened the weekend of Thanksgiving 2018. And Kenny replied, quote, I didn't want anybody else involved. I knew that I was in a lot of trouble, and I didn't want anybody else in trouble, end quote. So, yeah, she didn't want anybody else in trouble. Well, she sure is making that stand against Frazee right now, and kind of putting her friends under the bus too. So after KK answered a few more questions throughout that evening, they ended up letting her leave stand. And that's when the two teenagers the two young boys or men took the stand that was working for Frazee and cleaning up the aftermath. So two hired hands took the stand after Crystal Lee Kenny testified Thursday afternoon, and the 18-year-old Kyle Ritchie took the stand first around 3:30 p.m. that day. His parents were also in the courtroom, and the 18-year-old Samuel Diger, I hope I said that right, also testified and said he was best friends with Richie. So Richie was asked how he knew Frazee, and Richie said, "I met Frazee through family friends 2 years ago. Frazee hired Richie to be a ranch hand in June or July of 2018 until November. Richie's best friend, Sam, was hired as well. So Richie said he was on Frazee's property for about 5 or 6 days a week. He said he worked on the fencing and vehicles and cleanup." So prosecutors showed Richie various photos of Frazee's home. One of those pictures that the prosecutors showed was an aerial photo of Frazee's property. Just a friendly reminder of what we're dealing with here. So according to the affidavit and court people that testified in court, Kelsey was placed in a round trough filled with tons of wood and doused in gasoline. So here we go. This is what Richie has to say. He said it had been there. Where were we? I'm sorry. According to Richie, Frazee asked him to move the rusty trough the week before Thanksgiving and put wooden pallets in the trough. Richie said the wood pallets were piled 4 feet high. So Richie said Frazee told him to do this and then get things cleaned up. He said it had been there the entire time he worked for Frazee. One of the exhibits shown to the jurors was a map with circles drawn on it by Richie about where he moved the trough. So definitely it seems to me these boys, what they're about to testify, will collaborate with what Kenny is telling the court. So it basically was a trough with the wooden pallets that allegedly one that Kenny said Frazee used to burn the black tote with Berreth inside. Richie said after Thanksgiving he could tell the pallets had been burned and there was a burning stench. Richie said Frazee confirmed there was a fire and told him that the flames had got to be at least 13 feet high. So he said that Patrick told him his mother came out on the porch too. So there's more going on that we're missing here, guys. We're not getting it all. So Richie said there was also a new silver garbage can and said it was 2 feet away from the burned pallets. He didn't know what was inside. Richie helped Frazee put the garbage can into Frazee's truck. So this makes sense as to why they don't believe that KK had anything to do with transporting her away from the ranch. So Richie said that the trough looked cleaned out when they grabbed the garbage can. So Richie said Frazee asked him and Sam to move the trough into the cattle trailer and said the trough was still warm. Richie said they brought the trailer to the dump waste station, throwing out the trough. And Sam also said this happened. So Richie said he filled the spot where the trough once was with dirt. Richie was asked what a pitcher was, and he said it was dirt that was used to fill the spot on Frazee's request. Frazee told him to make the spot look pretty. I think this would be pretty damaging as well. So Richie said this was the only time there was a fire and that he had to clean up. So according to Richie, there was no other previous fires there that he's ever seen or cleaned up during his time of working there. The defense attorney for Patrick Frazee asked if he saw or smelled burnt plastic, and Richie said no. More witnesses are expected to take the stand on Friday. So everybody knows a fire that burns that hot and that hard all night, you're not going to smell burnt plastic most likely unless it has a lot of plastic in it. So yeah, the defense for Patrick Frazee is pretty weak, thank God. But we've got so many witnesses against Patrick Frazee right now that I'm pretty certain that jurors are already swinging their minds to a direction they believe to be the truth. You have the friends that are saying, Kelsey Berreth isn't going to be back. You have KK testifying, and then you have the two witnesses confirming what she's seen may have happened. What's going to be interesting is when his mother takes the stand, how is she going to reply, and what is she going to say that she's seen that day? My opinion is they should have took her up on the stand as one of the first people. That way she's not able to use anything she's hearing or seeing right now. I mean, there must be a huge change of mind of what she's going to say, considering the fact that she was going to plead, since she pled the fifth, right? So, and like I said, I'm not big on law, but something does sound fishy now that she's going to testify. But I can imagine being the parents of a child that's gone through this, or if they're sitting in the courtroom having to hear this, or even reading it in an article. And how do you keep your composure? Because I couldn't imagine going through something like this, and it would be so difficult to face a person accused of taking your child away from you. And the sad part about it is he is sitting in court showing no emotion, and you're seeing this thing. If he was completely innocent, and he should have been devastated by the breakup, firstly, that he claims they had recently gone through. That should have been devastating to him. So he has no remorse, no care, no nothing. He's just heartless as it gets. And then you have the part to where he claims that he kept the child more than she did. Well, let's compare who had the child gates in their house, who had the most toys, and who had, the most evidence that they had that child most of the time. So that would be Kelsey Berreth. Kelsey Berreth did love that child, and she cared for that child, and her friends and mother are able to confirm that, as well as the items in her house. So, I mean, the baby gate really puts it in perspective for me, that baby was there a lot of the time, and the amount of toys and stuff she had. So it's really sad, because Patrick Frazee is claiming that, he's the one, he had custody of the child. The child was his, and that really shows that the motive for everything that he's doing is most likely is to get custody of that child. He was worried because Kelsey Berreth might have had something to say in court about him, probably. That's what I'm thinking. If they went to court, he was worried about not being able to get custody of his daughter. He had some concerns and issues. So I believe, this is why this is happening, why it happened. He just thought he was smart enough to get away with it. Now, I don't think I was able to ever confirm this before, but I can now, that Patrick Frazee is a certified farrier in Colorado. Now, we didn't really get much on this, but I'm going to share it. So Clint Berreth, which was Kelsey's brother, posted on Facebook after she was missing, quote, "After arriving at Kelsey's house last night and combing through her things, we know one thing is certain. Kelsey did not pack and go anywhere. All luggage is here. Her purse is all that seems to have been gone. Her cars are not missing." And so definitely this seems to confirm that, KK had her purse, her keys, her phone, and her gun. And she put the purse in a fire, put her Bible in the fire, toys in the fire, and yet she was crying in the courtroom. So she's showing the emotion that she needs to show, or is she truly moved by the evil deeds that she supported? Because she did support these deeds at one point. So I did want to go over the fact that Patrick Frazee seems to think that, she would just disappear. The thing is he knew, and everybody knows, that Kelsey Berreth is very close to her family, and especially her mother. And her cousin, Jody, Jody said, quote, "They are a very close-knit family. That's why I don't believe she just got to see people. She's got to see people who are looking for her. She wouldn't put them through that," end quote. She then added that she's such a good person, a loving person, which this has had come up multiple times when you hear people speak about her employment, people that work with her family, her friends. What is the one characteristic that they all agree on? Is that she is a very loving and kind person. And she's very responsible, so she's not the type to just take off. Although we do know that she was struggling with a little bit of depression. She was just struggling with anxiety. And then we hear in court that Kelsey Berreth was speaking to one of her co-workers and said that Patrick Frazee was giving her some trouble. So that confirms as to why, most likely, that she is struggling with depression and anxiety. And after hearing what KK says, and then the ex-girlfriend that is behind bars now, that actually come out and spoke about dating Patrick Frazee and what it was like, it was hell. It was mentally stressful to date Patrick Frazee. He was very unthoughtful. He was manipulative. And he was just plain out cold. But what I don't understand, why did these girls keep coming back for more? I mean, you have years and years that's gone by that KK she's been remarried. She had 2 children. What should have been a very good life, according to, I think her name is Laura. Forgive me because I forget names. That was helping her through the rodeo stuff and was bragging about her being the rodeo queen, and you know who I'm talking about. According to them, she just had this great life. Why in the world would she go and stoop to this level that would just ruin her entire life? I wasn't prepared to talk about this, so I don't have my notes in front of me, and all these stories I've been covering, they can start to clash a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not looking good for Patrick Frazee. To me, it looks like it's very clear that what KK is saying happened, most likely happened. There is a lot of witnesses there to support the fact that most likely it happened. I do believe that the jurors are not going to have any trouble figuring out why Kelsey Berreth is no longer here. And guys, they're saying that this trial is moving way ahead of time. So we're going through trial really quickly. So we should start getting answers by the end of this week, and definitely by next week. My problem is I'm not able to keep up with all this. I'm running behind because they're running so far ahead. This trial does mean a lot to me. It was one of my first stories I ever took on. And I'm really hoping that this Berreth family is able to get the justice they deserve, especially Kelsey and her daughter. My gosh. So the daughter really lost out. She lost 2 parents in this one. And God only knows, if he was to get off, he also gets the chance to regain custody of his daughter. And that, guys, is scary. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do today, I have some things I need to get through today, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video for now. I am sorry, guys, I'm running behind, but I'm working my butt off. I'm trying. I want to wish all you guys, there's a weekend coming up, to have a great weekend. I want to say thanks for caring, checking these stories out, and I'll see you guys soon.